Thank you very much, Chair, and absolutely wonderful to be here today. And welcome all our speakers. I know Dr. Emer Smith from the ESRI, Dr. Freeman, of course, from Science Foundation Ireland, Ms. Costello from IBEC, Mr. Donoghue from our expert group for future skills needs, and Mr. MacDonald from ISME. It's really, I suppose, it's what we're all here about is about reform for the Leaving Cert, and it's absolutely great to hear that in the submissions. From what I can pick up on, overall, there's quite a lot of support about us, looking at a reform for the Leaving Cert, and that's really what our committee is here about. So we really welcome your submissions. This is going to feed into a report. It's going to be recommendations that's going to drive change within the Department of Education. So I thank you for the time that you've spent in putting these submissions together, for the thought that you've given. And I have probably a few questions and probably just a little bit of an overview as well. So I suppose, future skills as well. You really talked about, I suppose, the AI, artificial intelligence, the digital transformation, the challenges that we have that we've seen in the past year and a half with healthcare and with climate change. I suppose if I might pose my first question, of course, to Science Foundation Ireland, Dr. Freeman Ruth, it's absolutely great to see you. And I suppose I just want to say thank you. First of all, congratulations, I think, to our new Director General for Science Foundation Ireland. I think Professor Philip Nolan, I think, will be taking up the role shortly. And I know Professor Mark Ferguson, will continue, I suppose, as Chief Scientific Advisor, but of course has, led the ship over a long number of years there. So it's been great to see that. Just to welcome as well, you mentioned just some of the projects that SFI has been doing in the community. I suppose I'm based in Ballinasloe in Galway, representing Roscommon in Galway. And just to speak about the Creating Our Future and the impact that roadshow has had in terms of, engaging with the communities across towns and villages, I think has been excellent. So I suppose to thank your team for that. I suppose just some of the questions I might have, if I might, Ruth, for yourself, is just we talked a little bit about in your submission from Science Foundation Ireland about the accreditation of teachers. Just that I know previously teachers would have been involved in different projects, maybe with the centres of excellence, around the country, working with researchers and getting a flavour and I suppose making them more exhilarated about science and the potential with science and so on. I suppose just if you might speak a little bit about the accreditation of teachers and what that could look like, say, if we were looking at that for secondary school. You also speak about the lifelong learners, and this has been a theme which I've really enjoyed coming through a number of your submissions. I suppose, I'm working very closely with Minister Simon Harris here on the apprenticeship programme about rolling out all the opportunities. And Minister Harris, I suppose, with the CAO reform that will be there next year, is going to showcase sort of everything that's there from PLC, further education and the apprenticeship programme, as well as our traditional routes into college. But, I very much like just this focus. I suppose just if I might ask as well for yourself, Ruth, just doing STEM, the CAO reform, just maybe what impact that might have in terms of science. And you spoke as well about, girls, taking up STEM subjects. I do remember from when I was there, just the importance of role models and how role models were so important in terms of the reports that came back to us. So what sort of role models do we need for the future for both our, students, both boys and girls going forward? Maybe just something on that. In terms of the experts group on future needs and skills, future skills needs, Mr. Donoghue, actually, Tony, if I might ask you, I really liked what you submitted. You talked about our school experience, educational experience, giving an appetite for learning after school. I really liked that phrase. I suppose you have a project at the moment, I think, the Together for Design report, where you're working with career guidance teachers. I suppose I just wanted to find out, is there any feedback at the moment from that? And then also, is it solely to do with transition year? You spoke about the low levels of lifelong learning, and I'm aware of that statistic, 11%. I suppose I see that we need to be getting people back into the workforce, back into study maybe. I suppose when you think of it, there's so many people that have taken a career break, our mums and dads at home that have taken the time out. But then how do we encourage them and show them that, to get the confidence and to come back into thinking about study or about working or about taking part in their local community? Because what we're seeing in our towns and villages is that community groups are coming to the fore. They're the ones that are driving change in our local area and really making it important for people to consider living and working in regional areas. So perhaps just a little bit on that. You also spoke of languages, and as an art student, I really appreciated that because I do think languages are very, very important. I have to upskill myself on Oscuelga, but French and Spanish for myself is very important. But maybe just a little bit on the language skills. If I have time, then maybe just for Dr. Smith, just on the SRI, just very much appreciate that you spoke about the stress for students. The skills that we have to develop. And, you know, as arts, I'm not sure if I like the term soft skills. I never did. I was an art student and they'd always talk about soft skills. I never liked that term. I suppose I like thinking about skills that we have that are skills for life. And I suppose if I might ask you, you know, in terms of our fifth year and Leaving Cert students, how do you see, in your ideal world, if you saw the perfect Leaving Cert, what would that look like? And of course, if anybody else has time to come in and would like to comment on that, very welcome. Again, just to thank you, we need to develop our skills to equip our students who are our talent, who are the people who are going to be here driving our country forward, leading, be it in public representation, be it in our communities, be it in business, be it in research, be it in any walk of life. Education is crucial for that to happen. And so your submissions here are crucial to us looking at how we ensure that our students are equipped to take on these challenges and to succeed. So thank you very much.
Who's that wants to come in first then? Did you direct that to any specific person? Yeah. There's two people want to come in, Mr. Dunhu and Ms. Freeman. So I'll go for ladies first.
I'll do my best. Thank you, Senator Dolan, for those questions. I'll try and be brief so you can get through them all. In terms of the accreditation, I mean, look, I think there's lots of models out there in other professions where we can recognise CPD more broadly rather than just the CPD coming through the Department of Education. So I think we should be thinking about where can we get teachers to go out and get these skills. We can accredit them, we can make sure they reach a certain standard, and can they sort of use a portfolio of different accreditation out there. So I mean, at primary school, we've got the green schools, we've got the DPSM, the primary science and maths. I think we can develop a model of accredited skills for teachers. You know, we do it in engineering, we do it in accountancy, we do it in loads of other professions. So I think we can do that. I mean, when it comes to, I think, role models you talked about, I mean, research that we've done, we've spoken to thousands of students in their first year of college. We've spoken to 3,000 or 4,000 of them, and we've asked them detailed questions about why they are doing the course that they are doing. The biggest factor in determining the course that they are choosing is that whether they think they will fit in with the other people on the course. So they are absolutely thinking about, will I be like the other people on the course? And that's whether they're choosing a STEM subject or a non-STEM subject. So I do think we need to think as a society, what kind of role models are we putting out there? And we do certainly work, you know, in the STEM area, we work with RTE. That's why we do things like Science Week. It's opportunities to get out there and present all of these different kinds of careers and options and say, look, you can be a scientist. We have to smash those stereotypes in the arts just as much. I mean, there's probably young boys out there that are interested in dance and music and maybe feel stereotypes there are not allowing them to pursue their passions there. I mean, I think when it comes to the new sort of types of options on the CAO form, we would hugely welcome those. I think STEM has consistently been associated particularly with high academic achievement in maths. And I think we know there's actually range. We need far more diverse ways of thinking in STEM than just, you know, people who are getting top marks in higher maths. So I would fully endorse having that broad range of pathways into STEM. STEM itself needs to be a broad, diverse place if we're going to solve all the problems in front of us.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ruth. And it is so true. I think it is about sort of connecting in with those students and just showing them that it is a path for them and that it is open to them and it is about accessibility. So thank you very much. Dr. Smith, would you like to come forward? Or sorry, apologies, Mr. Dunny or Dr. Smith.
I'd be very brief, Tony. I was glad you raised the issue of stress, Senator, because it is very concerning, the levels of stress that are associated with Leaving Cert assessment and the preparation. And it's actually driving out activities like sports outside school that are helping kind of a protective factor. We've seen really positive developments at junior cycle around well-being and the time and space being devoted to it. But we really need to see that carried forward into senior cycle. We need not to see well-being as an add-on and something that should be kind of pushed aside in preparation for the exam. And we need to embed some of the life skills we've been talking about in that way. In particular, the NCCA are currently reviewing relationships and sexuality education. And data from growing up in Ireland has shown there's still gaps there for young people that we assume that young people are talking to their parents about sex and relationships. They're not necessarily, and especially young men, may be missing out on those conversations. So it's very important that we have a sort of nuanced view of sex education in our schools in the context of broader well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. As a member of the first ever Oireachtas Joint Committee on Mental Health, I very much welcome that. It's absolutely crucial that there's safe places for people to talk and that they feel confident about talking in schools or clubs. And would you believe it, in our sixth class as well, in sixth classes in East Galway and Roscommon, they're doing a programme with Galway Sports Partnership where sixth class, age 11 and 12, they'll be running marathons. They do something like 600 metres a week or 800 metres, and it's about building those lifelong skills of having a routine of running and how that's really good for head and heart. So, yeah, thank you. Mr. Donoghue, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Dolan. I'll take your three questions. First of all, around lifelong learning. As we said before, and I think we've all agreed that it's developing this appetite, but then it's also the opportunities. And there are some really interesting projects happening at the moment under the Human Capital Initiative, including a project around micro-credentials, which is basically giving learning in bite-sized chunks. For a lot of full-time workers, it's impossible to allocate time to get a master's or a bachelor's degree. So chunking that up and having an education system, a university, technological university, IoT system that will present information in modular amounts is very positive. Second question in relation to apprenticeships. These will work if we give people real progression opportunities. There's been an enormous amount of discussion around apprenticeships since we've had that reform back in 2012. I have to say the evidence on the ground in terms of taking up the new apprenticeships. We have the traditional 27 craft apprenticeships. They will go with the ebb and flow of the construction sector. Demand will be up at the moment. I think it's around 6,700 so far this year, which is higher than last year, which is encouraging. But I'm particularly interested in the other apprenticeships, which go right up to PhD level.
I know, yeah.
University of Limerick has a PhD in a principal engineer, and that's what you have to have, because it's really around young people's aspirations and breaking the stranglehold of the point system and the leaving certificates on apprenticeship, on young people's aspirations. And you will do that by actually providing them with opportunities to progress. So that's the critical elements of the apprenticeship model. And the final thing on languages, well, I've been around the education policy space for quite a long time, and I have to say I find languages the most problematic of the lot in terms of how you actually address this, because it's the disadvantage of being an English-speaking country. I don't think the teaching and learning of Irish has done it any favours, and that's really the way Irish has been taught rather than the fact that it should be taught. I think it might have dissuaded some people from taking up languages. I think basically it's around giving young people opportunities to use languages, whether it's in sport or wherever else, in different contexts. But believe me, it is critical in this post-Brexit world. The Irish Indigenous sector particularly are going to have to diversify markets. And there is an old saying that you can buy in your own language, but you're selling your customer's language. And if you really want to be successful on export markets, you need to have staff that have a facility with language. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Donoghue. Yeah, we have just on the point there on apprenticeships and so on, like we've seen the new technological universities, particularly for Athlone and Limerick, the new TUS, Midlands, Midwest, and then also we have our Connacht Alliance, actually, that's going to be kicking off with GMIT and IT Sligo and IT Letterkenny. All of these universities, I suppose, technological universities, we'll be working very closely with the ETBs in each of those regions to drive sort of the PLCs and the NFQ levels and to bring people to, as you've said there, right the whole way through to master's or PhD level, but to do it in smaller chunks and to make it more accessible. I suppose there was a student that just spoke at the TUS, actually at the launch in Athlone, of the TUS Midlands Midwest, who had actually started doing a PLC and then moved from doing a PLC, and she's now head of the Students' Union for the brand new university there. But she started off doing, a PLC, and a real excellent sort of example of how you can progress. Taking it slowly and I suppose options to earn and learn and handle the costs as well. I've been able to attend college. So Gurmagat, thank you, Mr. Donoghue. Sorry, thank you very much, Chair. I don't know if I have any time left.